Harmony is one of the principles of design. Principles of design are rules or guidelines or strategies that designers use to make effective design, which means to control the distribution of visual elements in order to facilitate a message or to make a statement. Harmony pertains to similarities amongst visual elements that are otherwise different. So the people in this painting are all different because it's not all the same person being depicted, but yet they have a similar appearance. Like their faces are very similar, their body structure is very similar, very rounded and kind of enlarged. Look at some of the sheet music. Compare it to the woman's hair, the woman at the bottom in the blue dress, and then compare it to the man who's playing the tuba. We see the repetition of that yellow ochre color. I see some of it too on the chair that the violin player is sitting on. So the chair, the music, the jacket that the tuba player is wearing, the woman's hair, those are all different visual elements, but the characteristic that they share is that color, that yellow ochre color. So those are some strategies, or those are some examples of how this artist has achieved harmony in that painting. So that's what it all comes down to: repetition. When visual characteristics are repeated amongst otherwise different visual elements. So this is a great example here. Here's a album cover by the band Keane. And look at I'll just use my mouse to kind of be a pointer here. So the band name, Keane, the letter A in it has a curve. The horses have curves along their mane or their neck. The waves have curves. So we're talking about curvy contours here. But the font, the horses, and the waves are three different visual elements, but they share the same characteristic, that curvy contour. So that's an example of harmony within this design. Sometimes a theme is repeated. So the theme that's being repeated in this advertisement is the theme of organic growth or new growth. Spring is associated with growth. So the whole layout has that vibe, that organic growing type vibe. And it's being contributed by the font, but also by the red organic shapes that are speckled throughout the layout. And maybe even the color itself, like that ochre color, is a color that you would find in nature. You might have to look carefully to spot this one, but the theme of 6 is being repeated. While there's obviously the word 6-day spring sale, but then it's like there's 6 layers to the visual elements here, their arrangement. We've got the flower at the top, 1. Gifts, cards, party supplies, that's 1 layer of typography. A second layer of typography, March 20th, 25th. A third layer of typography, everything on sale. So how many layers is that so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. The gift box, 5, and then Any Day Gifts, which is the name of the company, 6. So it's like 6 layers, 6 horizontal layers. So the repetition of that idea of 6 helps to create harmony. Now, why is this so important? Well, unity. Unity is the ultimate design principle that artists and designers attempt to achieve in their creative work. Unity is a sense of connectedness. It's like a sense of wholeness. Everything seems related and everything is jiving together. And so harmony can lead to unity, or it can help achieve unity. But they're not quite the same thing. So here's a good example of unity. So unity pertains to a sense of wholeness or connectedness, and it typically comes from repetition, but it's often repetition of the same or almost the same visual element. So this is a good example. We see the repetition of the men, and they're not identical, but they're pretty close. And so that repetition of the men creates a sense of unity. Overlapping always creates a sense of unity. So like the building in this composition is being overlapped by the men, and some of the men are even overlapping. Using a color scheme creates unity. So in this painting, the artist strategically used a very limited color scheme. There's only about 3 colors being used. And when artists do that, it creates really strong unity, a sense of connectedness, because all the visual elements are sharing the same colors. This is a good example of, well, everything really, because we see that all the musicians are overlapping, and so are their instruments. There's repetition of circles. The hat that the front musician is carrying is mimicked by the instrument bells. And there's definitely a color scheme. The same colors are used, the same set of colors are used throughout the whole painting. And a consistent style. So when an artist sticks to the same style, or sometimes we say the same treatment of subject matter throughout an artwork, that also creates a sense of connectedness, a sense of unity. Here's a good example of subjects, or visual elements rather, overlapping. So all the positive shapes, as we call them, which are the people in this case, are overlapping. Almost like they're making one composite shape. That creates really strong unity. So unity is a sense of connectedness in artwork. Harmony can lead to unity. And harmony exists when different visual elements share common characteristics, like the typography, the horses, and the waves in this composition, all sharing the curvy characteristic. That's harmony, a design principle to help you make excellent design work.